In case you missed the first two parts, part 1 is here, part 2 is there. Alright, by the way, spoilers up ahead, but for now, let's go! Video games!
Remember how I labeled Terry as a character from Fatal Fury instead of the King of Fighters? Well, all aboard the irony train because guess how I'm kicking off the top 10? There have been plenty of recurring characters in SNK's long-running fighting game series, but let's be honest here. Kyo is pretty much the face of KOF. Seriously, the influence that this guy has had on the series is downright astronomical. From his debut in 1994, Kyo has been in every single game in the series, and for good reason. Let's start with his lore. Like modern maiden Chizuru Kagura and resident rival Iori Yagami, Kyo is the latest in a clan who sealed away Orochi 1800 years prior to the series.
He keeps coming back to Okami! Why? Why does he keep coming back to Okami?
In terms of personality, think of him kind of like the fighting game equivalent of Sonic. Not what I meant! I mean that he's a cocky fighter with an attitude, but he has a strong sense of justice and cares deeply about his friends and family. So yeah, like Sonic. Except Sonic can't create flames out of thin air! This is what I like most about Kyo, the sheer fun factor I get from playing as him. Kyo combines his own Kusanagi-style martial arts with Kenpo. He's actually used two distinct styles. His original style feels rather Shoto-like, but it's still fun to use. Starting in '97 and through 2002, he developed another style which relies on chain moves, giving him insane combo potential. Whatever style he's using though, it's a sure bet that Mr. K will be a part of KOF far into the foreseeable future. After all, KOF just isn't KOF without the flames of Kusanagi.
Winner! Feel the burn.
As you may know, I usually can't stand trolls. They're often malicious, live to mess with your head, and are generally just unpleasant to be around. So why then do I find Hades so appealing? Okay, I'm pretty sure that someone at Sora Limited must have been watching a little too much Disney, because wow! It's rare in this day and age to see a villain this entertaining. I've already talked about the epic fight with him in Kid Icarus Uprising, but I never got the chance to talk about Hades himself. Well, since my renter's insurance covers fourth wall damage, I figure what better time than now? To put it simply, Hades knows he's evil, he loves it, and through his own brand of sarcastic and dry wit, he makes us love it too. Uprising's writing is already a portable stand-up routine as it is, but from the moment Hades tears up the fake credits, he takes the evols way past 11. I mean, he takes such joy in spreading misery wherever he goes that I actually think he gets a high from it. No, I'm talking about seeing pink hippos high. He's such a troll that he'll go out of his way to take a cheap laugh at Pitycake's expense. However, unlike the likes of Terami, who makes everyone his bitch, other gods know not to beat the troll, and I have to admit, his reactions to these moments are just as endearing as when he's the one dishing out the smarmy insults. Hades is that special kind of douche that people both love for his special brand of malicious humor, and love to hate for all the shit he pulls. Seriously, Sakurai and his gang must be really proud of themselves in their writing because, you see, Hades is simply one hell of a villain.
And cue face bomb.
Hey, that's my line!
Oh, come now, you hardly use that line anymore. Besides, you don't seem to have a problem borrowing other people's material, am I right?
I'm trying to get away from that habit, thank you very much.
Oh, clearly you're trying your best, which is why you asked me to cameo, right?
Go home, Hades!
Enjoy the rest of your little countdown. Oh, and happy belated birthday and all that. Hades out.
I swear to Palutena.
This spot actually goes to two characters from the same franchise. And in all honesty, they deserve to be here because regardless of your opinion on them, one fact cannot be denied. If you're a gamer in this day and age, you have these guys to thank for it. Yeah, I know, predictable, but think back to 1985. The video game console crash was in full swing, and it seemed as if home video game consoles would be nothing more than a footnote on history. A stinky footnote with warts on it. I'm not kidding when I say that if it weren't for Mario and Luigi, it would have been game over for good. But lo and behold, the red and green lights appeared like a Christmas tree, heralding the birth of a new age. Super Mario Bros. Not only saved console gaming, it revolutionized it. But if you think that these two plucky plumbers would be content with a single miracle, you'd be dead wrong. Over the years, these two guys would lend their magical touch to nearly every genre imaginable. Sports, racing games, music games, RPGs, puzzle games. Hell, the entirety of 3D games entered a new age thanks to these guys. What next, a Mario first-person shooter? The point I'm trying to make is that the impact that the Mario Brothers have had on gaming isn't simply astronomical, it's downright mythical. And it also helps that they've been a part of some of the most enjoyable games I've ever played. Mario Kart Double Dash, non-stop fun. Mario Tennis, who'd ever thought I enjoyed a tennis game? Super Mario Galaxy, sweet lord! If you really want to see how well these brothers are as, well, brothers though, look no further than the Mario and Luigi RPGs. Some of my favorite titles in the genre, due in part to how well these two work together, both in battle and in the story itself. Mario's abject heroism, tempered by Luigi's admittedly hilarious cowardice, make for some of the most entertaining moments I've ever seen. And let's not forget, Luigi's had 2 games where he's had to save his brother, overcoming his greatest fears to do so. The Mario Brothers have done so much for Nintendo and for gaming as a whole. So if you're a gamer today, remember, were it not for these guys, we probably wouldn't be where we are now. So be thankful, damn it!
It's a Final Fantasy character. Oh, shut up!
Okay, I know, Final Fantasy characters have a reputation for being unlikable, whether they're seen as bland, broody, annoying, whiny, etc. But whatever your complaints toward the series characters, can you really say any of it about Cecil Harvey? Because I sure as hell can't. One of the reasons I prefer Final Fantasy IV above the likes of 6 and 7 is because of how the characters develop, and Cecil is the best example. Honestly, you can see the proof in the fact that Cecil is one of the few characters in the series that undergoes a class change. Starting as a Dark Knight whose stats are focused on offense, he later becomes a Paladin whose stats, especially magic defense and spirit, increase significantly. Of course, this ain't no cosmetic upgrade, oh no. The class change is symbolic.
You guys used to hearing the words character development yet? Well, it won't be the last, but...
As the story begins, Cecil is a conflicted soul, torn between the orders of his king and his own conscience. Of course, being ordered to steal a vital treasure from innocent people would make any decent person feel disgusted. After being stripped of his rank and being essentially marked for death, he seeks to atone for his past sins by opposing his own former fleet, now led by the mysterious Golbez, who now seems to be pulling the strings behind everything. Eventually, he learns that in order to stop Golbez, he must discard the sins of his past. This leads to his trial at Mount Ordeals, where he subdues his dark side by not fighting. Thus, his transformation is completed. But even before his transformation, Cecil was still very likable. I really liked his courage and conviction, as well as his loyalty to his friends. He also shows a level of integrity which is rare in characters nowadays. Even after being betrayed by his longtime friend and being antagonized by Golbez, who, by the way, is his own brother, he still finds it in himself to forgive him. Yeah, they were being mind-controlled by the real villain, but after what they did, it takes him real hard to forgive them. Seriously, RPG heroes should be more like this, and less like...
I'm Captain Bosch von Rotzenberg of Dalmasca.
Sorry, Vaughn, you're not fooling anyone.
Remember how I said that Narukami was one of the best examples of a silent protagonist? One of being the operative... Oh, screw it, you probably know where I'm getting at. When you consider all the amazing adventures that the Legend of Zelda has given us over the years, it's easy to see why I consider the Hero of Time to be a truly timeless character. Maybe it's nostalgia talking, but ever since my first exposure to the Zelda franchise, I can't help but recognize the virtues of heroism that Link embodies. With each incarnation of the green-clad hero, we've seen how, even though he's a silent protagonist, his actions speak far louder than words ever could. It's the kind of story we've seen countless times. The hero being thrust into conflict from his humble beginnings, witnessing the darkness as it encroaches the land, and becoming stronger and more courageous to overcome the evil, and taking time out of his adventures to help others along the way. When I was playing through Link's adventures, it gave me the kind of feeling of a hero. It doesn't hurt that through his facial expressions, particularly in the 3D games, we see the full range of emotions that make up his personality. In some cases we get comedy gold, while in others we get a sense of all the tension, worry, and sometimes anger going through his head. Perhaps the best example of Link as a character is, ironically enough, the most divisive game in the franchise. Everyone say it with me, Skyward Sword. Regardless of your views of the game, it's hard to deny that Link felt most like a real character in this game. It even offered you dialogue choices to make him seem less silent. Also, his relationship with this particular incarnation of Zelda, at least to me, was genuinely touching. It felt like Link really had a reason to save her other than her simply being the damsel in distress. Regardless of his incarnation, though, Link has always taken me through some epic adventures that I could only dream of. And isn't that one reason we play video games in the first place? To experience things we'd never dare experience in reality? Now, if only he could get some voice acting.
Great! I can't wait to bomb some Dodongo!
On second thought, maybe we should let him stay silent. It's probably for the best.
The characters I've discussed so far have earned high marks from me for one reason or another, but nothing can even compete with the top 5. Characters so well written and well executed that I can't help but hold them in the highest of regards. On that note, we come to the Tales series. Namco's RPG epics are some of the best the genre has to offer. Combining gripping stories with a unique real-time battle system, they're worth checking out if RPGs are your thing. Of this series, my favorite is Tales of the Abyss. And here's one big reason why. I'm sure a few of you might be scratching your heads right about now, and to be honest, I wouldn't blame any of you. In fact, when I first started playing Abyss, I actually kind of hated Luke. He was a spoiled noble with his head firmly secured within the 9th circle of his ass. So when a freak accident landed him in the middle of nowhere, he was pretty much a fish out of water. It didn't help that he dreaded the thought of killing another human, or the fact that his arrogance actually got progressively worse as events transpired. Then he was tricked into using his power of hyper-resonance to destroy a town, lost the trust of his friends, learned he was actually a clone of the original Luke, now known as Ash, and basically had his entire life shattered. If that's not a sign that something needs to change, I don't know what is. Thankfully, Luke realizes this and makes a determination to better himself. That's when I really started to like Luke as a character. His determination to atone for his mistakes from that point on, establish his own identity, and ultimately save the world make for arguably one of the most well-written and well-developed characters I've ever seen in a video game. The emotional roller coaster that this character experiences is something that's truly well captured in the writing of the story. The difference between the Luke at the beginning of the game and the Luke at the end isn't just noticeable, it's downright staggering. It's especially apparent in the one-on-one duel with Ash, where the two rivals face off to determine who the real Luke is. But that's a story I've already covered. The point I'm trying to make is this. Don't write a character off just because of first impressions. You may be turning your back on something truly special. Professor Herschel Layton. Do I really need to go further? Okay, fine, I'll elaborate. I have a feeling that there are quite a few of you who don't even know who this guy is. So I find it fair to tell those of you among my viewers that you are missing out on some of the most well-written games on Nintendo handhelds. And it's all helmed up by the very portrait of a well-kept British gentleman. A professor of archaeology in London by profession, Layton is really well known for his penchant for solving puzzles and getting to the bottom of some of the world's greatest mysteries. This man has an absolutely killer intellect. Pretty much nothing escapes this guy's notice. The way Layton's been able to crack cases would make even Mystery Inc. proud. And it's all topped off by one of the most epic finger points in gaming history. On top of that, Layton's resourcefulness is downright uncanny. He can make a flying machine from random knickknacks lying around a room, turn a slot machine into a machine gun, and even make a makeshift catapult with a bunch of spare parts. Of course, the biggest reason I love this guy is because he's such a gentleman. He's always well-mannered, especially towards a lady, very respectable, and of course he's almost never seen without his trademark top hat. Throughout the series, the good professor has also shown to be a great mentor to his self-proclaimed apprentice, the ever-plucky Luke. No, not that Luke, I already talked about him! Anyways, the relationship between Layton and Luke was always a highlight of the series, between Layton teaching Luke how to be a gentleman, and Luke's unbridled enthusiasm. I can think of a certain other gentleman who could learn a thing or two from this guy. Not to mention Layton's cool-headed intuition makes him an excellent complement to the previously mentioned Phoenix Wright, which is why their recently released crossover makes so much sense. A few questions though. Why didn't Level 5 tell us the mother of Layton's son Alfendi in that mobile spin-off? Why is Layton 7 being planned to be such a radical departure? Why did Yuya just summon 3 dancing hippos?
And why am I wearing a lunchbox on my head?
Talk all you want, because those words will be your last!
Given how much I've talked about Xenoblade Chronicles over the past year and a half, I'd say it's time I talked about Shulk in a context beyond simply put this guy in Smash. Thanks for that, by the way, Sakurai. So why is it that I love this guy so much? I mean, just looking at the guy kind of suggests your typical Bishonen protagonist with a laser sword. Nope! He's a weapons researcher. Yep, Monolith Soft decided to forgo the traditional hero tropes and place the coolest sword ever created in the hands of a freaking nerd. So just what can he do with that Monado? Plenty. Unlike the other characters in the game, who learn a total of 16 arts, Shulk only learns 8. Pretty meager. Until you take the 8 Monado arts into account, which Shulk can use when his talent gauge is full. The capabilities of his arts give him a wide variety of tactical options. Decrease aggro on you so that the enemy targets your tank, then boom, nail him with a backslash for double damage. Or inflict break to set up a topple, then daze him with Shaker Edge. And that's not even taking into account the visions Shulk can get. Enemy preparing a decisive blow, Shulk will be able to see it coming so that you can prepare for it with the right Monado art. Considering that preparation fills a huge role in the game's boss battles, you will be depending on these visions quite the lot. But again, Shulk's personality and character are why he's this high. Despite having his home ravaged by Mechon and initially being driven by revenge against the mechanical monsters, Shulk possesses a startling degree of humanity. He shows a great deal of concern for his kind, sometimes even willing to help people he's just met, whether they ask for it or not. There are also times when he shows some understandable frustration, usually when he's unable to prevent a particularly terrifying vision from coming to pass. He even has his moments when he shows mercy on his enemies, and again, a significant degree of development as his motives shift from revenge against the Mechon to simply wanting to end the fighting between the peoples of Bionis and Mechonis. Hopefully by this point I haven't spoiled enough of the game to dissuade you from playing this amazing masterpiece and experiencing the journey of this wonderfully written character. Don't mess with nerds, people. They may just end up giving you a beatdown with a beam sword. What? What's with all the weird looks? You can't seriously tell me that you didn't see this coming. Ragna the Blood Edge is, in all honesty, one of the most badass characters in all existence. Oh, I get it. You probably thought he was going to be number 1 since he's my mascot, right? Well, even though he isn't my absolute favorite character, I'm gonna be blunt. I fucking love this guy. From the second I saw his design, I knew this guy was gonna be a total badass. With that cool red jacket, that styling white hair, that kick-ass sword, woo! It doesn't hurt that his playing style in the series is downright brutal. His attacks deal heavy damage, and he's quick on his feet at a cost of what, low defenses? Bitch, please. His drive is called Soul Eater for a reason. He can drain the life force from his opponents and make up all that extra damage he took. Oh, and did I mention that his sword can turn into a freaking scythe? Yeah, show me someone who wants to be on the receiving end of that, and I'll show you a total liar. One mistake against a solid Ragna player and you're in trouble. Okay, so we know he can kick ass in battle, but how about his character? On the surface, he seems like a one-dimensional angry loner. Rude, vulgar, abrasive. Yeah, he shows a lot of anger, most of which is justified in the fact that the bastard Terami nearly killed him as a child, his home was burned down by his brother, and his sister was abducted. Not to mention that he has a colossal bounty on his head courtesy of the token tyrannical government. But you think that's all there is to him? Not even close. If you're not his enemy, he's actually not that bad of a person. There are people he actually genuinely cares about, regardless of how much he doesn't want to admit it. In fact, in Chrono Phantasma, his development undergoes a serious dead spike as he begins to reevaluate the reason he fights and decides to rely on his own strength instead of the Blazblue. You know, that life-stealing MacGuffin that the series is named after. But the most important thing I love about Ragna? He never gives up. No matter what shit the world throws at him, no matter how hopeless the situation seems, he sticks to his guns and refuses to be broken. Sometimes that's all it takes to bring a situation back from the brink. Regardless of your thoughts on the series, for a character to possess such an unbreakable will is something you've gotta respect. And you know what the best part is? Despite being such a great fighter, despite being such a well-written character, despite being such a complete badass, he isn't my favorite video game character! Alright, we're almost at the end, and now only one question remains. Who is my favorite video game character of all time? But before we answer that, since it's been such a long journey, I'm gonna do something I haven't done in a long time and recap this thing. Number 30, Bayonetta. Number 29, Kirby. Number 28, Fox McCloud. Number 27, Soul Bad Guy. Number 26, Terry Bogard. Number 25, Travis Touchdown. Number 24, Colress. Number 23, Vice. Number 22, Shantae. Number 21, Talem. Number 20, Lord Raiden. Number 19, Shadow the Hedgehog. Number 18, Raphael aka Phantom R. Number 17, Samus Aran. Number 16, Wonder Blue. Number 15, Yu Narakami. Number 14, Roxas. Number 13, Neku Sakuraba. Number 12, Phoenix Wright. Number 11, Soma Cruz. Number 10, Kyo Kusanagi. Number 9, Hades. Number 8, Mario and Luigi. Number 7, Cecil Harvey. Number 6, Link. Number 5, Luke von Fabre. Number 4, Professor Layton. Number 3, Shulk. And number 2, Ragna the Blood Edge. Okay, you've been patient this entire time, so now it's finally time to bring this list to a proper conclusion. I've covered all sorts of characters, from energetic heroes to dark warriors, and some incredible examples of character development along the way. But in all seriousness, there's only one character that could possibly reach the top of this list. One character that embodies everything I love about characters in video games. My favorite video game character of all time is Zero! I'm sure some of you may have seen this coming a mile away. Well, excuse me for being predictable, but I digress. Zero is bar none, my favorite character not only in video games, but in any form of fictional media. For starters, playing as Zero is an absolute blast. As enjoyable as his blue buddy is to play as, swapping out an X-Buster for a Z-Saber gives you carte blanche to chop enemies to pieces like a red robotic Ronin. Ugh! So satisfying! It also doesn't hurt that he's able to learn new techniques from any Maverick he cuts apart. Flame slashes, windmill double jumps, heavenly lasers of death, booyah! Also, apart from his Z-Saber, Zero's also a master of several other kinds of weapons as well. Seriously, underestimating Zero is a worse mistake than going in against an ubered heavy. It's no wonder he's been in so many crossovers. Marvel 3, Cats vs. Cap, Onimusha Blade Warriors, hell, even SNK wanted a piece of the guy. But let's face it, you all know why Zero's number one. It's because of his personality and development. From the moment he first appeared in Megaman X, he started by saving X from a hopeless situation not once, but twice. X was so moved by his sacrifice that a good chunk of X2 was spent retrieving his parts so that Zero could be repaired. However, it was X4 where we began to see how deep and complex a character Zero really was. As it turns out, Zero was the last creation of Dr. Wily and the original carrier of the Maverick virus. Yet, ever since a dramatic role reversal with Sigma, Zero has fought as a Maverick hunter and stood by his duty, even though he was forced to kill both his old friend and his love interest. His dedication even led him to pilot a space shuttle into a falling space colony in X5. But it didn't stop there. Flash forward 100 years to the events of the Zero series, when a young Reploid scientist named Ciel awakens him, and with the assistance of X, who is now a cyber elf, Zero aids the Reploid resistance against the oppressive government of Neo Arcadia, led by a copy of X and his 4 guardians, later replaced by Dr. Vile, who escaped from exile. I've already talked about the final clash with Omega in Zero 3, where Zero learns that even though his body is a copy, his heart and soul are indeed those of the original. But even that isn't his finest hour. That happens in Zero 4. When Dr. Vile sends the Ragnarok on a collision course with the human settlement at Area Zero, Zero is determined to stop the impact. Eventually, Ciel informs him that if he doesn't return right then and there, he might not make it back at all. Zero, however, is willing to risk everything to destroy Dr. Vile and Ragnarok and save Area Zero. Dr. Vile, of course, taunts him, saying that the so-called hero of justice doesn't have it in him to kill a human. This is how Zero responds. I never cared about justice, and I don't recall ever calling myself a hero. I have always only fought for the people I believe in. I won't hesitate. If an enemy appears in front of me, I will destroy it. And that's exactly what he does. Sacrificing his own life in the process, he defeats Vile, destroying Ragnarok and saving Area Zero so that the surviving humans and Reploids could come together to rebuild the world. Think about those last words for a second. Justice is a subjective term, and one doesn't simply decide to be a hero. Heroes are defined by their actions rather than their words, and Zero's actions throughout both the X and Zero series prove, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that he was indeed a hero. And consider this. Dr. Light's dream was a future where robots and humans could live in peace. Yet, it was the last creation of his nemesis who brought that dream to fruition through his efforts and sacrifices. It's a beautiful form of irony if you think about it. And that is why Zero is my favorite video game character ever. It's not because of how iconic he is. It's because of how deep and compelling he is, and how his actions defy his origins. In a medium that has produced all manner of idealistic dreamers, depraved madmen, and edgy loners, for a character like Zero to prove what determination and heart can do is truly something I will never forget. You may think that this is cheesy beyond belief, but I am being dead serious. He really means that much to me. Zero's actions and dedication have earned my undying respect more than any other character in any form of fiction. Every gamer has their own argument for whether games can be considered art, but honestly, Zero's all the justification I need. As I've said before, the best characters are the ones you remember for the right reasons, and Zero's actions and heroism have left an impact on my soul that can never be replaced. I'm the Quarter Guy, and Zero is, without a doubt, my favorite video game character ever. He's more than a character. He's more than a hero. He's a legend. A legend that will be remembered forever.